Alright, welcome back to the channel. So I think in the last video I was mainly talking about sort of building up the doors, getting the glass back in, getting the tailgate back on and getting the glass in for that as well. So obviously all that stuff's just as it is, door cards and stuff still on, mirrors etc. are all on. Obviously the rear door cards are in as well. I've kind of chopped them slightly just to fit around the tub there. So yeah, really it looks much and such the same as it did before. Obviously there's a hell of a lot of stuff going on in here, which is mainly what I've been up to. Just kind of getting started on all the sort of wiring. It's a bit of a mess right now. There's a few things just temporarily sort of hooked up just for testing. Just stuff everywhere, but yeah, the main thing really has been a bit of wiring just so I can get the engine running again. But before I get to the engine bay, there's some wiring that's been done here. So the rear heated screen is plumbed in, or wired in I should say. Obviously the battery's in. I've now wired up this interior light. The wiring's just kind of sitting here loose, but the number plate lights are also wired in. I'll switch them on in a sec. These are the Mark IV style lights that are fitted to the tailgate. You'll see that in a previous video. Then obviously we've got all the lights at the back here, so reverse, brakes, fogs, tail lights, indicators, all that stuff. So that all now works. And that does include the RX-8 gearbox. The reverse lights work with that. I fitted an RX-7 gearbox switch to that, and then basically just wired it up to the original fuse box loom for the reverse lights. So I've got the battery hooked up here. It's just grounded to the chassis right there. So I've cleaned that to kind of bare metal behind. This is just so I can run jump leads to it, because these batteries are a nightmare to get jump leads on. It's a bit flat at the moment. This is the battery I was running in the daily, but I took it out. It wasn't very good in the winter. They only have, I think it's 170 cold cranking amps, so a bit weak for the Scottish winter, but it's sitting in the car now anyway, just for sort of testing and stuff. But I think when summer comes, it'll be a decent little battery, so I'll probably use that. It does fit quite nicely in that sort of spare holder bit there. I'm not sure if I've shown this, but there's usually a bit of sort of, it's almost like a kind of cardboard, leather, vinyl sort of trim. I've just basically remade that in alloy plate and just riv knotted it in so it's nice and solid, just to kind of tidy that rear area up. So yeah, battery's hooked up, so what I'll do is I'll flick the kill switch and you can switch on some of these lights just to show you. So that's the tail lights on, and that's the number plate lights. Not very bright just now because we're in the daylight, but I think you can get sort of LED bulbs for these, but I'll see how they are. Actually, I'm a massive fan of LEDs. Although I did actually fit one to this little light here just because they're not very bright with just a bulb, so that's got an LED, nice and bright. And that'll switch off when the boot comes down, like so, with this switch. Or I can just switch it off like that. So yeah, if I switch off the garage lights, you should see that a bit better. So you can see the tail lights, nice and bright, number plate lights, and if I can find it, there's your LED light, so pretty cool. So that's the boot shut. You can see the number plate lights fit quite nicely in that spot, and they should light up the reg plate pretty well. So the hazard lights as well. I fitted a new hazard relay, just done a little bit of wiring with that, so they now work as well. Hazards at the back. Obviously I've welded up the wings here, so there's no side repeaters, but you can see we've got the hazards at the front as well. Now if I stick ignition on, you're going to hear the fuel pump here, but that's fine. Ignition on, stick it in reverse. So an RX-8 box, reverse, and the 5-speed is along and down like that, as if you're going into 6th gear. And just like that, Mazda gearbox Scirocco wiring and tail lights, works a charm. Brake lights, because I'm running a sort of biased pedal box, I've basically got a pressure fed switch just here. And then the final light at the back is fog lights. Obviously there's no front fog, so switch that right on, and we'll get the fog lights as well. So yeah, full shebang. Front lights are similar, so the ignition back on, lights back on. You can see there. It's not new bulbs, these are just old bulbs that I had sitting. This is just using the OEM wiring. I kind of tidied it and cleaned it up where I could. So you've just got the H4 bulb and the little side one, and then obviously for the indicators as well. On the full beam, so just off the original stock. Not too bad. So the other things I have wired up now, I've got a working fuel gauge. Obviously I'm using an aftermarket tank, and I've fitted a kind of cheap eBay fuel sender. Otherwise I would never know how much fuel's in the tank, so this kind of roughly tells me. So I've got a half tank just now. The only thing you really need to do for this is match the sort of ohms, the resistance range of the gauge to the sender. These are both just cheap eBay shite, but it'll be enough just to tell me how much fuel's in it. These switches here, they're fan override switches. The idea is my two fans on the radiator will be controlled by the Emerald. If for some reason the Emerald doesn't switch those on, I've got override switches here. Don't know if you can hear the fans kicking in. And that switches on the second one. So that's that. The other thing is a heater. So the idea is these two here will demist the screen, and this one will essentially be spares. I'll just run some ducting and some random vents. They can go to the sort of footwells or wherever really. 4 fuse slots along the top here. This one's for the wideband lambda. This one here is for the heater system that I just switched on. There's 2 spare slots that will get used by something. I've also got the 2 fan relays, they have their own fuses, and I'm using a lot of the OEM fuses. The other thing you might notice there is I've got a windscreen washer bottle hooked up, so that's all wired in. It works off the OEM wiring, so if I pull on this one, you'll hear that come on. You'll also see that the wipers are doing something, so I've got slow, fast, and intermittent. So that's all working fine. They'll come on again in a sec. There we go, perfect. So this is actually a Mark 3/Mark 4 wiper motor. These are a direct fit, the 5-pin ones for a Scirocco. The plug and everything's the same. They bolt right up to this motor. It's a brilliant upgrade to what is quite an old motor on these cars now. You can see as well it's just clearing my fluid pots. Perfect. So yeah, there's still lots to do here. There's very much a big mess still, but it's getting there. And you'd be surprised how long all this wiring stuff takes, especially when you're kind of doing it from scratch. So we'll get there with it. I should mention as well, I've now got a quick release boss on here. As you can see, it's going to be quite hard to get in and out of this car. The cage is quite beefy. So yeah, now I can just basically grab that and pull the wheel off, so that should be good. So anyway, back to the engine. The clutch pot, the one at the back, is full. The clutch is also bled, and the clutch slave cylinder, you'll never be able to see this, but I fitted a new one of those because I had the inlet manifold off, which was down at a friend's work getting machined so that I could do away with the shitty Creation Motorsports spacers that I had on there. Absolutely terrible. So I had 12 mil taken off of the sort of lugs where the fuel rail bolts up, and with some sort of billet injector cup things to accept these shorter EV14s, basically what the later 180Ts run. So these injectors are going straight into the inlet now, and they're straight in the rail, which obviously means I can run these clips, which I really wanted to do. The spacers don't allow you to do that. So yeah, chuffed with that. So yeah, that's been done. There's quite an old set of spark plugs in it at the moment, but it should still run off them. Ideally I'll get some new ones. Obviously lambda sensor and stuff like that's back in, all the wiring. Fuel pressure is plugged in, oil pressure and stuff's plugged in. Catch cans in. There's coolant in the system as well. It's not been bled yet, and as you can see I need to top it up. But I do need to run it up to temp and just sort of bleed all the coolant pipes and see if the heater will blow out some hot air. Oil cooler is primed and ready to go. That should be full of oil now, as is the filter. Just lots of little jobs like fitting sort of protection to here so it doesn't rub on the intercooler. I am also going to change these for hard pipes on the dyno. Even under just low boost, these pipes were kinking. They're soft as hell for some reason, so I think I'll change these to I'll still have the kind of silicone joiners here, but just a full hard pipe. See if I can get some TIG welded up or something. Obviously, cam cover and stuff's off at the moment. I was going through all my timing and stuff like that. A couple other little things. I just put some bolts in these. There's sort of little captive plates under there. They rattle like hell. So these little bolts will just stop that from happening. All the kind of little bits in the bonnet are back in. Just cut that off because I'm not needing it. Little rubber hose on there just to stop that being sort of metal on metal. And the washer jets are actually hooked up. So they're all plumbed up with some new lines. So I could actually fill that up and test that, but we'll probably do that in another video. So yeah, it's getting there. This is a temporary, very temporary earth, just to basically earth the engine, the box, all that stuff. I would like to run one not so close to the turbo, so this is just for now, just to basically get it started. So yeah, I think that's kind of it for where I'm at. What I'll do now is I'll hook up a bigger battery. I'll jump it off a bigger battery, and we'll see if it'll fire up. We'll get the laptop open and just show some of the logs and stuff like that. Alright, so jumped off a bigger battery. Laptop's hooked up. We've got ignition on as well, so it's saying low oil pressure. Gearbox has now got oil in it, diff has oil in it, obviously engine has oil and water in it. So let's just see if she'll start up. It might take a bit of persuasion, but we'll see. I think we might have a dead battery. Okay, that's it running. There's something up with the way I've wired in the water sensor, so we'll just ignore that just now. But you can see we've got decent oil pressure. It is idling very low. I don't actually think the battery's charging just yet, but yeah, battery's not charging yet. Good fuel pressure, oil pressure is good as I said, the rev counter's working. Oil temperature should come up as it kind of heats up. Ticking over quite nicely. As I say, I'll just let it run for a couple of minutes and then we can see if it'll take a bit of revs. So it is a wee bit spluttery when you first start it and try to give it some revs, but I'll basically just jam this in. That should hold the throttle at maybe 1%, 2%. see it's idling away nice and smooth now. So it could just be a case that I need to make a kind of throttle screw, or I think I do have adjustment at the pedal box end as well, so I'll play around with that. But it's idling much better now. Maybe a bit of smoke, but it is quite cold tonight. She's not been running a while, so it's to be expected. So we're idling at about 1k. You can see cooling temps coming up slightly, air temp. Lambda's not too far off. Battery's charging very well. All pressure and stuff's good. We'll wait and see if the soil temp comes up a bit as well. I think I'll stick the heater on, stick it up to max just to see if we get any hot air coming out. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes. Still idling away fine, not as much smoke now at the exhaust. You can see all the temperatures are starting to come up. The air-fuel ratio is not too far off of the target. The oil temperature is starting to come up now. Topped up the coolant pot as well. Just trying to squeeze some of the pipes. Some of them are really hard to get to, like this one. Quite a hard pipe, so I won't be able to squeeze that, but hopefully it will kind of self-bleed itself as well. Still blowing cold air, so it's still a bit of bleeding to go. So yeah, it's a bit more up to temp now, so I'll see if she'll take some revs. Nice. Right, so we're still idling away nicely. Cooling temperature seems to be reading like it's right up to temperature, so I'm going to see if the thermostat's open. We're still blowing cold air out of here, so it's obviously not bad, but this top radiator pipe's getting quite hot. This bottom one is cold, so it's either the thermostat's not opened yet, or quite a big airlock here, or the coolant's maybe just not sort of filled all the gaps yet, but we'll see. We'll let it run a little bit more before I switch these fans on, because I do think it reads a little bit high on the Emerald software. Absolutely no smoke out the exhaust now either, revving away quite clean. Just going to let it run a little bit longer just to see if that thermostat will open. Been running a good while now since the last clip. The thermostat has now opened. This is quite hot to touch now, this bottom hose. So the thermostat's definitely opened up. It is proving to be quite hard to bleed though. I've still got stone cold air coming out of here, so that's maybe a job for another day. I basically just wanted to run it right up to temperature just now, just to show you guys basically that she's up and running again. So yeah, that's it. Car's running. It's running quite nicely. It's taking revs. It's basically doing everything I want it to do. Just basically need to bleed the coolant system properly, as I mentioned. Yep, other than that, you'll notice the wheels are off, so the brakes will be coming off front and back just to get rebuilt with new pistons and seals. I'll give them a splash of red paint as well. The top arms, the top control arms here on the rear axle, the RX-8 stuff, these need replaced. The ball joints are shot basically I do have a new set, but I need to get the sort of rear ones here. Yep. Same for the fronts. So these will be coming off to get new pistons and seals. There's new pads in there, new sort of rattle clip pin things as well. And yeah, they should be good to go. I need to come up with a better solution for these tie rods. They have these extensions, but on full lock, given it is quite a good lock, these do rub on the inside of the wheel. So I'll need to try and work out something with that. Steering rack will also come off just to get rebuilt. New boots and stuff like that. So I'll basically just take that right off, split it apart, repaint the casing and rebuild it with some fresh grease and stuff like that. Obviously cam cover needs to go back on. Need to remake this in a better location where it's not going to overheat. Strut brace can go back on, which I might paint black. Obviously I'll need to bleed the brakes once they're rebuilt and back on. There's a few little sort of grommet holes that I'll need to fill in. But other than that, I think it's pretty much there. Obviously inside, still a lot of wiring to do, a lot of tidying up to do here. Need to get the dashboard back in as well. Obviously get the windscreen. I'll phone the windscreen company about that, see if I can get a screen fitted. I'll try and make a little video on that if I can. Other things as well. Carpet will need to go in. Seats, harnesses. Bleed the hydraulic handbrake as well. We'll need to obviously fill in this section here as well. We'll need to seal that off with some black tiger seal, so it'll just look like a kind of standard sunroof. I think I might carpet the rear as well, otherwise it's going to get dirty pretty quickly. I did have a slight fuel leak here as well, which is kind of eating up some of the paint, so I think I'll unbolt this stuff, lift it up, lay down some carpet, maybe make some alloy plates for these to bolt to on top of the carpet. But yeah, things at the back are pretty much there. So yeah, that's pretty much it, where I'm at with the car. It's getting there slowly. Just doing a little bit here and there on weeknights and when I can at the weekends. It will be good obviously when I get the brakes built and I get a windscreen in it, chuck a seat in it and actually just take it out for a little drive, see how it goes. I do plan to get these wheels refurbished as well, some new tyres and stuff. I'm contemplating getting them done in gloss black, or I might just see if I can find a second set of these and I'll have them done in black. So almost like a set of sort of road wheels and sort of track day wheels with sort of track day tyres on them. Yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that usual stuff. Almost at 1,000 subs now. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.